Hey, welcome to another episode of Making Billions. I'm your host, Ryan Miller, and today I have one of my dear friends, Irwin Katsof. Irwin runs trademissions.org. He brings delegates overseas, emerging fund managers, to fundraise through international means. So, Irwin, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thank you so much. Appreciate it,
Yeah,
Rob.
it's good to have you, man. I've gotten to know you, and I've been following you for a while, and I am so impressed with everything that you've done. You're such an impressive individual. I can't wait to have your story and talk about how you help emerging fund managers to raise capital overseas.
Let me just correct you just on 1 second. I'm sorry. It's not just emerging fund managers. We have some, but we've also, Canyon Partners, KKR, Kleiner Perkins. We've had many well established intellectual ventures fund managers. I think it has a particular use for emerging fund managers because, raising capital, I think, is one of the hardest jobs out there.
Yeah.
It separates the mice from, the boys from the man, the women from the man. It is tough.
Yes.
Very tough. And it's even harder when you're an emerging fund manager. You've got to kiss a lot of frogs to find the right princess. So it's particularly helpful for them. I can't wave my magic wand and make it any easier than it is. No matter how you slice and dice it, it's hard.
Yeah.
But fundraising, capital raising, is a numbers game.
Yeah.
Right? I'm from Canada, from Montreal, so I used to like to say that you miss 100% of the slap shots you don't take in hockey, right?
Yes.
And whoever, it used to be Babe Ruth had the most strikeouts, but he also had the most home runs. Not anymore, but so you've got to get up to the plate and swing. What's beautiful about the Trade Missions program is that we can put you in front of 50, 60, I have the Singapore Trade Mission coming up October 14th. I have 91 LPs registered for it that the US fund managers will meet over a day and a half in Singapore.
Sure.
Right now, that would normally take people probably 2 years to arrange.
Yeah.
So we can expedite the process. I can't make it any easier, but I can help it happen in a quicker way. So it's good both for emerging and for well-established fund managers.
I love that, and you've got quite an interesting story. I'm sure our fans around the world would love to know. How did you get into this industry, and just walk us up that, and then we can talk about trade missions and all of the good stuff you got going on.
I think everyone's story is interesting.
Yeah.
So I worked as a rabbi for 25 years. As a rabbi, I realized pretty quickly that I could accomplish more with individuals by getting them to Israel than I could by studying with them once a week for 2 years. Israel is the center of the world's three greatest religions, three biggest religions, not greatest, three biggest: Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Judaism is really one of the smallest, but in terms of those that have had the most impact on humanity from the Western world, putting aside Buddhism and Hinduism, Jerusalem is the center of the three major religions in the Western world. And whether you're religious or not, I have found that individuals I brought to the Middle East, to Jerusalem, whether they were Jewish, Christian, or Muslim, were tremendously impacted by being in Israel. The spiritual energy just kind of set them, they were like sizzling, right? So as I was a rabbi in LA for 14 years, I saw that if I got people to Israel, I impacted them in a really powerful way. So I was fortunate to meet Larry King, who recently passed away from CNN fame. He was an atheist. I was a rabbi, believer in God. So we wrote a book together called Powerful Prayers, where we interviewed 100 famous people, everyone from the Dalai Lama to Tommy Lasorda to Muhammad Ali to Lady Thatcher to President Carter, Bush, Ford. And we'd come back. He was an atheist. I believed in God. So we'd argue about it. How did this guy said he believed in God? He had a miracle. He spoke to God. And Larry'd say, how could that be? So we discussed that. And then we started doing trips together.
Yeah.
And over the years, President Biden, when he was a senator, came with me for a week. Secretary of State Kerry on the Republican side, John Ashcroft, Tom Ridge, Christie Whitman, Newt Gingrich. I brought a lot of business leaders. Howard Schultz came on his first trip with me, Barry Sternlicht, Ken Goldman, who now runs Eric Schmidt's family office. He was CFO of Yahoo. So I saw very quickly that not that bringing business leaders there, the tech scene was just in its early beginning, but the co-founders of AOL came with me, the head of AOL Ventures, they bought some companies. So that quickly grew into bringing hundreds of tech leaders and business leaders, and brought the commissioner of the FDA, and they invested in tech, in biotech, medical tech companies with biotech executives. There was something that was really powerful about getting people out of their day-to-day existence and into a different environment. And that slowly evolved. I would then, after 25 years as a rabbi, I went and got my Series 7. I went into business and became involved with different members of the U.S. Department of Commerce. I was appointed to something called ITAC 6, which was the International Trades Advisory Committee, helping the government, advising the Secretary of Commerce on international trade in biotech, in renewable energy. And because I brought so many tech leaders to Israel, they suggested that I maybe do one of these trade missions. So I did one in 2012, bringing 10 venture capital, private equity, and real estate managers to Israel. And over the years, it slowly evolved. So from 2012 to 2022, I've now done 53 trade missions, brought over 600 US fund managers on various delegations. We've gone to India, to Australia, to Hong Kong, to Singapore, to UAE, to Israel, to Switzerland, Canada, and many countries in South America. And it's just a really impactful, powerful way to help U.S. alternative asset fund managers meet foreign LPs.
Wow. That is phenomenal. And what a great explanation of that industry. You're right. Fundraising can be a challenge at times, even for the best.
Marriage and fundraising are the two hardest things I've done. And bringing up children is very close to that.
There you go. I'm going through it right now.
Beautiful kids and 23 grandchildren.
Good for you.
And grandchildren are all pleasure.
Yeah.
Children, a lot of pleasure. Marriage is immense pleasure, but very hard work. And fundraising is a tough slog, especially if you're an emerging fund manager. You got to kiss a lot of frogs to find those few princesses.
I love that.
Yeah, we can't do anything to I wish I could wave my magic wand and make it easy for emerging fund managers. You can't take anything away. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
It separates, the boys from the man. It's hard work, but this fundraising, this trade mission program can help expedite the process, because in 1.5 days, we can put you in front of 40, 50, 60 in Singapore. Coming up in 2 weeks, we have 91 family offices and institutions registered.
Wow.
That's 2 years' work.
That is incredible. And so for our funders around the world, what can they expect? Maybe walk them through a little bit of the process of how does that work? What can they expect? Then we could talk about how they could reach out to you and get a little bit more information.
The website is trademissions.org.
Okay.
Put in a little advertisement.
No, absolutely. Do it.
Okay. Yeah. It's trademissions.org. Yeah. There are 2 great 3-minute videos on the top of the website, one on a recent trade mission to Singapore, one on a recent trade mission to the UAE. We take 12 funds on each trade mission, 3 or 4 venture, 3 or 4 private equity, a couple of real estate, maybe an impact fund, an infrastructure fund, and maybe 1 or 2 public equities. We after doing 53 of these, I have a sense of who will succeed. So, and every one of them now is fully subscribed anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months ahead. So I don't see my job as selling. I really want to work with them to assess, is this a good platform for them? Yeah. If not, I will advise them, maybe you shouldn't go to Saudi Arabia. Maybe you should try Toronto. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's easier for you, unless you have a well-established track record and you're somewhat of a brand name, you might not do well in a market like the Middle East. Mm-hmm. But LPs, family offices might be more open to you in Canada or in Zurich. So I'm there to help work with you to see where you will sing, where you're going to resonate with the LPs. So we spend some time talking, understanding your platform. I try and figure out, which kind of LPs will find you interesting and consider investing with you.
Mhm.
And then we explore the whole schedule for the year. Like in 2022, March, we were in the UAE. April, we were in Zurich, Switzerland. June, we were in Tel Aviv. September, we're doing Singapore. October, we have one in virtually out of the Hong Kong consulate. And they're all sponsored. It's an initiative of the US Department of Commerce. I'm what's called a certified trade mission organizer. I work with the department and with the team in each embassy. So in October, we're doing a virtual one out of the Hong Kong consulate and an in-person one out of the US consulate in Toronto.
Mhm.
November, we're back to the UAE, and December, we're in Saudi. So it's, 8 or so. We also have a whole special track just on blockchain and crypto.
Okay.
We're doing one in November 8th and 9th, 3 continents, 2 days. November 8th in the morning is out of the Brazil embassy in Sao Paulo for LPs from South America. November 9th in the morning out of the embassy in Bern, West Germany. And in the afternoon with 4 p.m. here, it's 9 a.m. in Australia. So that's for crypto and blockchain. The others are for multi different asset classes. So I see myself as more of a consultant to try and work with the GPs.
Mhm.
Let's talk. Let's look at your platform. Look at your, your typical investors. Are they more high net worth, family offices, or institutional? Based
Yeah.
on that, we'll figure out where is the best domain for you, and then see if it makes sense to go ahead. We
Wow.
have a big menu, many different countries,
Yeah.
and each one's a little bit different. And sometimes, it's for me to say, you know what, it might be better you come back after you have a first close
Yeah.
or after you have an anchor investor. So after doing 53 of these for 600 plus US fund managers, I do have a good sense of who's going to resonate in which market. And that's
Yeah.
what I try and do.
Yeah. I love that. And so, for our listeners around the world, I hope you can tell that Irwin is really good at when you work with him. He's very good at helping you to place and set you up for success. And you could hear the compassion in his voice. I absolutely love everything that you've done. Now, my understanding is, Irwin, and keep me honest, my understanding is the trade missions that you work on is it sponsored by the U.S. Congress, or is there something
No,
about
it's an
export?
initiative. Yeah, it's
Okay.
an initiative of the US Department of Commerce.
I love it.
It's called the Certified Trade Mission Program.
Hmm.
And I'm an organizer of those certified trade mission programs. I'm not an employee of the government,
That's right.
right? Um, I'm what's called a certified trade mission organizer for the US Department of Commerce. So this is one of their thousands and thousands of initiatives.
Hmm.
Um, and it's run out of the U.S. Department of Commerce, ITA, International Trade Administration, and there's a separate financial services division. And I'm a private business doing it in partnership with the U.S. Department of Commerce.
Awesome.
Important
Excellent.
to make that distinction.
Yeah. Yeah. It absolutely is. And from your experience, which is vast and impressive, have you noticed what works well? Are you seeing patterns? What are some of these funds that have done very well? You don't have to name them, but what are some of those things that maybe some of our investors around the world who run funds, maybe you can bring them up to speed on? Here's some of the things that really hit well and don't really work well. Or have you noticed any patterns in that?
Hmm. Well, everyone's looking for returns.
So that helps.
So you've got to have you've got to have um, a good track record,
Yeah.
good returns. If you're an emerging fund manager, you don't have a track record to show. It's important you yourself have a credible track record as perhaps an angel investor, that maybe you have 2 or 3 or 4 years under your belt, that you can show personally what you've done.
Mhm.
If you're an emerging fund manager, I think it's important where you develop a thesis of what you believe will work, and you do that yourself for a few years so that you can show some proof. I think it's important you have your own skin in the game, that you have the more, if it's 5% and anything higher, that you are par pursue with your investors, you're side by side. That's going to help immensely.
Yeah.
You've got to have good auditors and good accountants and good fund administrators and good legal. You got to make sure all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed before you go out publicly. And then people do give to people.
Yeah.
So I've seen some funds come on the trade missions and they send a guy who might be a brilliant analyst, but he's not a great people person.
Yes.
And they might have the best product, the best thing since sliced bread, but if he doesn't know how to explain it, he's going to have trouble.
Yeah.
So it's important to have people that know how to respond and listen to people and answer questions. And I think a lot of it comes down to personal integrity.
Yeah.
You've got to be honest and have integrity, stand up for your product. And when the times get rough, don't disappear.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have some up years and people are going to have some down years, right? If it was so easy and you had the perfect product, right, you'd be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Everyone would be investing with you. So that doesn't happen. It's difficult. The most brilliant people have tough years and tough deals and deals that go south. So I think when things go south, you've got to stand up and be there and deal with your investors, which is tough.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of, your stomach's got to be tough to deal with that. But I think if in the long run, if you can do that, you'll do well.
I love that. And do you have is there a typical ideal size or asset class, anything else that some of our investors around the world would be, we're fine and fit? So is there?
Just so to participate in this particular certified trade mission program, you do have to be based in the U.S.
Okay.
Your fund has to be registered, incorporated in the United States because it is an initiative of the U.S. Department of Commerce. I found investors in every country we've gone to. People often have baskets for many different asset classes.
Yeah.
I think U.S. venture today, right now, it's a little bit of a tough time, and valuations have dropped. And what was popular yesterday in terms of growth investing is the valuations have been chopped significantly. But investors globally certainly have some of their assets, not all. No one's betting the farm on it, but in venture, because everyone's looking to find that next unicorn.
Yeah.
So not all investors, but I think bottom line is people are concerned about wealth preservation and they don't want to lose what they have. So they'll put in some capital, risk capital that they're looking for that 1,000 or 10,000 to 1 return. And then after that, they want a balanced, diversified portfolio because when real estate's up, the market's down. When the market's up, real estate's down. And so they're looking to diversify geographically, asset class wise. So most investors have a basket for many of the different asset classes because that's the smart thing to do is diversify. That's right. And I have seen that a lot of investors are looking to go, and I've seen emerging fund managers pick up checks, smaller ones, but pick up checks very quickly because they have a good thesis, and they have a lot of enthusiasm and energy, and they've done well as angel investors themselves with their own capital, and they can show that, and it's audited.
Yes.
So they're able, and I think that's important to have an audited history that you can show, even if it was your own money, what happened. So now when you go to launch a fund, you can show people that you've been successful.
Verify. Yeah. Show me, don't tell me. I love that. And okay. And so how, as we round the corner and wrap things up, how can people get a hold of you? I know you mentioned trademissions.org. Is that the best place people can reach out if they want to know
Yeah.
more?
I mean, that's the website. There's a contact form there. My email is Irwin, IRWIN,
Yep.
like Nancy, Irwin at trademissions.org.
Okay.
But if that's hard to remember, just trademissions.org. Go to the website. There's a contact form there.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. And any last minute thoughts? Anything else you'd like community out there to know or to learn about?
When it's all said and done, and we want to look back, I've never met anyone on their deathbed who wished they had spent another hour in the office or made another deal. When it's all said and done, what really counts is the people that you loved and opened your heart to, and your family, and your community, and your society.
Yeah.
So that might be a different message that you expected from someone
No.
running trade missions to help people raise capital. I'm all for that, and nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And I like doing it, but I urge people to have balance in their life.
Yeah.
And not to get caught up in the race.
Yeah.
Because when it's really at the end of time, that's what you want.
Yeah.
Is to know that you were with those that you could touch and that you loved and were important to you, and that you were important to them. And that's going to really have much more impact if we can all work on making ourselves better people and helping our communities.
Yeah.
And taking care of the loved ones. My wife sometimes said to me, if I was a rich guy, you would speak to me more. And I said, you're right. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah.
And I changed.
Yeah.
And I now live a much more balanced life.
Yes.
So I'm here to help you raise capital, but I'm also here if you'll spend time with me to develop your consciousness and to raise capital and to help the world through as a fund manager, bringing things to the world, but also developing our consciousness more.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful said. And many of the guests, and you're certainly one of them, ironically, a show called Making Billions. Yes, we do talk about making money, but all of the people, and yourself included, they talk about, we make money, but our driver is impact first, income second. We accomplish both. But so many people, including yourself, are deeply driven by making an impact. So I just I want to silently applaud you. That's enough for Irwin and I, everyone. So as you're growing and building your fund and doing all of these things, follow the advice of Irwin. Seek a balanced life. And if you're really ready to go for it, you got a great thesis, give him a call, go to the website, and he's sent his email, so contact him there. They do those international trade missions. You do these things, and you too will be well on your way in your pursuit of making billions.